Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This will be my top 10 stocks as we head into Tuesday, July 18th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown, so if you're someone that uses charts within your trading, or maybe just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used as a tool to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. First off, a couple clarification points. Number one, the price you see over here will be changing around. That is because the market's still open for a small amount of time. And the candlesticks you see right there will also be moving around, again, because the markets are still open. But I like to do these videos when the market is open for a small amount of time because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement. And then second, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame, meaning each of these candlesticks here represents 30 minutes worth of time. So stock number one here, ticker symbol PLTR. And very, very impressive move on this one today and a good solid pattern. So as I draw this pattern in play, please just realize I'm not trying to impress you. I'm not trying to imply this is some sort of great discovery or special talent that I have. And I say all that because when a lot of people are watching the same levels and wondering the same thing, and I believe that a lot of people have drawn to these exact same levels. So let me change this to green to represent support. Then you have that idea of potentially self-fulfilling prophecies where everybody's looking at the same thing, wondering the same things, and call it self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want. That can create some very dynamic movement. So right here, to keep it one color, maybe make it easier to see, we have a resistance, we have our support, we have the huge explosion right there, and then if I put a golf hole down here to make it a little bit more visual, this will be known as a bull pennant pattern. Now, there are no guarantees in the market, but my point here is it valid? Is it plausible to think that if the price comes up here and breaks up through that level, that break in and of itself could create additional buying pressure? In my mind, that is a certainly plausible outcome. Again, not guaranteed, but that's certainly a worthwhile situation to keep an eye on. So if you like bull pennant patterns, definitely keep an eye on this one headed into Tuesday. Next one, NKLA, and I like this quite a bit, but we have to factor in last week's movement and the fact that this thing had a big gap up, drop down, but you can see here the price has continued to level off and is now actually starting to curl back upwards. So my question is, does this thing come back up a little bit more and then maybe take a little breath? And this right here is what makes things very, very interesting, because at that point you potentially have a cup and handle pattern. And you can see right here, that is what would potentially be in play. Now, to be fair, maybe this thing keeps coming up, and it just keeps ripping and roaring. I mean, that's always a possibility. Or, I mean, to be fair, maybe none of this happens, and this thing just all of a sudden drops right back down, and down she goes, and there's no more to talk about. But that's the whole idea of a watch list, to find unique, to find interesting situations, not randomly rush out and start buying stuff, but to watch it and observe it. So if you find this sort of situation, interesting and potentially, agree that something like this could happen, and you like cup and handle patterns, and you like stocks down below $5, then this is definitely something that I would keep an eye on. So I completely respect if you're like, no, this is not really my, no pun intended, cup of tea here, then that's fine. But if you do enjoy these sorts of potential situations, then I definitely keep this one on your watch list. Next one here, BBIO, and I probably should have put this at a different location in the watch list because we're going to talk about another bull pennant. So like I said, I could have put this right up here, but hopefully you still remember because I just talked about it not that long ago. So we have our area of resistance. We have our support level, and because I can't help myself, let me change that to green to represent the support. And then because I really can't help myself, let's just keep it one color so you can visualize it the best. So we have our resistance, we have our support, we have the big explosive move up like that. We have our golf hole down here. So this would be a bull pennant pattern. Once again, the biggest difference is this is on a stock that's a little bit more pricey, up in the $30 range. So maybe the first one that I walked you through, not really in the price range that you're interested in. But here we have same exact general pattern, bull pennant. Got to think that a lot of people are watching it. So just to reiterate, does that guarantee anything? It does not, but doesn't make it valid, doesn't make it plausible that if the price does break to the upside, that break in and of itself could create additional buying pressure. That certainly makes it a plausible outcome. Next one, ABOS, and we'll stay on the topic of those self-fulfilling prophecies because you got to think that all sorts of people have drawn that trend line just like that. And I'll change that to red to represent resistance. So like I said, nothing fancy there, nothing complicated. So just based on the fact that that is such kind of a black and white level, then in my mind, it makes it valid to think that if this price does curl back up, can get to that level and then break through it, that break in and of itself has a great chance of just creating additional buying pressure because you're going to have breakout players saying, oh, look, that's breaking out. Oh, I'm a breakout player. I should be buying. So that seems like a plausible scenario. Again, doesn't guarantee to happen, but I can definitely see, that potentially playing out and would not accuse you of having some sort of random thought process to think so. If you like to play more so pullbacks, then an interesting pullback level right down there around $9.25. So keep an eye on that as that key area of support. Next one here, AMC, and pretty straightforward, at least in my opinion right now, from a charting standpoint, a technical standpoint. And again, I think you could probably introduce a little bit more into those self-fulfilling prophecies because there's two main moving averages here, and a lot of people move these moving averages that are just very beautifully defining the current sideways channel. So the top part of this channel and the resistance would be all about that purple line there, the 50-period moving average, which you can actually see right there. The price is already rejected off of it once. So in my mind, that's going to be a very key level to watch moving forward as an area of resistance. And then on the flip side of things, as far as the area of support is concerned, you have the pink line down here, the 200-period moving average. And while not exact, you can see right here, got relatively close to that general area and indeed held. But like I said, taking a step back, very clearly the past couple of days now, the price has been just chopping back and forth, back and forth. But the question becomes, okay, well, within what range though? And the range, I think, is just very well defined with the 50-period moving average up here as resistance and then the 200-period down there as a support. So moving forward, it just becomes a question of who is ultimately going to win out. Are the bulls going to win out with a push to the upside, or the bears going to win out with a push to the downside? That's the big question moving forward. So if you like this sort of scenario, I definitely keep it on your watch list. Real quick, wanted to pause and personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online class that I'm offering later on in the week. So if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used to build consistency and manage risk, then definitely get signed up for the free live online class. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down in the description box, or if you're watching at my site, there's an area right there on the webpage that you can click to get signed up. So like I said, if you've been enjoying, then definitely get signed up for the free class. Next one here, ticker symbol PMN, and very, very nice pattern here with some well-defined levels once again. So let's just first talk about this key area of support, and the support, and I think the level that a lot of people will be watching. Once again, that pink line there, 200-period moving average. It's flattened out very nicely, and sure, the price never hit it exactly, but you can see it just seems to be hovering right above that level. So in some senses, it seems to really be respecting that as a level of support. So moving forward, keep an eye on that 200-period moving average. And then as far as areas of resistance are concerned, the level here that you got to think a lot of people are watching. So I would definitely, argue there's potentially that self-fulfilling prophecy dynamic once again right up there at the $7 mark. I mean, you go back through the history of the chart, and you can see that several times today, price got right up around that area and just could never quite push through. So right up there at $7 is going to be a main area of resistance in terms of, a level that you got to think a lot of people are watching. And especially if you can get a high volume break of that $7 mark, no guarantees, but you got to like the chances that it makes a run up to, the potentially that high right there, which is almost into the 8s, or it pushes deep into the 8s by retesting that high right there. But in my mind, it all starts with, can it break through that level first? But if it can, especially on high volume, then you got to like the probabilities. Next one here, RIOT, and after a very impressive and strong start to the day, which you can see through that opening 30 minutes right there, price really just rolled back over and a bit of a deeper pullback. Now, from the big picture of things, the trend is still very clearly in the upwards direction, so keep that in mind. But I'm going to keep us narrowed down on a more specific price range for more so those people that are in it for, maybe a quicker trading type viewpoint. But if you're some sort of trader that cares about definitely the bigger picture point of view, then yes, this right now is still just an overall pullback. But as far as key levels to watch moving forward in terms of support and resistance levels, first key level of support now that seems to really have taken on some interest right here at 1825. And I say that because when you go back and look through the history of things, you can see got a bounce from that level right there. And then even late afternoon, once again, got a bounce from that level. So does that guarantee that another bounce is going to happen here like it did back here? Of course not, but does it make things pretty interesting? In my opinion, it absolutely does. So keep an eye on that 1825 mark. If the price does get, try to get some sort of bigger bounce, then two main levels to watch. First key area from a resistance standpoint, going to be that purple line there, the 50-period moving average. But then after that, even if the price can clear through it, then from more of an overarching standpoint, you seem to have now this overarching trend line right there in place to keep an eye on. So like I said, overall, individually today, a pretty rough day. Looking at things from the bigger picture, everything is still fine. But as far as kind of near-term key technical levels, 1825 seems interesting. And then that overall trend line. Next one here, TSLA Tesla. And overall, the trend continues. This thing is at highs that have not been seen for a very long time. Obviously there is this, I don't know about obviously, but there was this period of time right here where Tesla had the deeper pullback, but not only has it recovered up to those highs, that's where today it's gone even higher. So really, any angle you look at it, good solid looking move here. And once again, we have, I think, a level that a lot of people will be watching. It's Tesla, very popular stock, whether you're trading the stock itself or just trading options on it. So you got to think that there's probably been quite a few traders that have drawn that very simplistic trend line right there. And then on the flip side of things, you have a pretty straightforward lower trend line right there, which you now know I'm going to change to green, and then you now know I'm going to draw in the overall pattern because I cannot help myself. Let's keep it one color. We have the resistance, we have the support, we have the nice upwards move right here, we have the golf hole down here. So we have ourselves yet another bull pennant pattern. But so we have basically three classifications: more of a cheaper one, a mid-price one, and then a very expensive one. But again, not exactly that expensive if you're doing Tesla options. But if you were to push me into a corner and say, Clay, summarize Tesla for me really quick, I'd say Tesla 30-minute time frame, bull pennant pattern. Next one, MULN, and overall some interesting dynamics here taking place. And the first dynamic is at least the price seems to now still be going sideways. So that's dynamic one. Today, was it explosive? No, but it did go sideways. And then dynamic two about that was it did go sideways at yet a higher level, meaning you had these lows right here. And then on Friday, you had those lows. And then today, you didn't have lows as low as the previous one. So there is a bit of progress in the upwards direction. But the easier way to kind of all explain this is just to get in, one of my favorite patterns. So let's get that trend line in play there. That illustrates the higher lows. And then let's get the area of resistance there, which is showing our area of where the sellers are at. And what we have here is an ascending triangle pattern. So if you're somebody that likes penny stocks, you like ascending triangles, then I definitely keep an eye on this one, MULN. Next one, TQQQ, which is an ETF that measures the NASDAQ. So if you believe the NASDAQ market as a whole is going to rise, this one will also rise. The biggest difference here is it just allows you access at a much lower price point, which makes it a very popular, some would say probably the most popular ETF out there. But overall, the NASDAQ had a good day. Therefore, this one had a good day. And really moving forward, it's just a question of, so you basically missed the breakout. What do I mean by that? Well, yes, going into today, there was kind of this little area of resistance that had formed. But, I mean, like I said, from that angle of things, the breakout has essentially already happened. And now the price is working its way upwards. I suppose I could zoom in a little bit. I did want to give context that. There we go. So there's a breakout, and it's already breaking out. But now we have the question of, okay, the breakout has occurred, sure, but and this is a fun question to always ask, is this the start of something bigger? Now think about that question. You don't get to ask that question if nothing worthwhile happens, because then it wouldn't make sense, because, well, is what the start of anything bigger? Because nothing really happened, but that's not the case here. You got the breakout, so yes, is this the start of something bigger? To be fair, maybe it's not. Maybe the price just rolls right back over and completely collapses. I mean, that's always a possibility. There are no guarantees. But that is a two-sided coin because, well, I mean, maybe this is the start of something even bigger, and the rest of this week, this thing just grinds higher and higher. So always an interesting scenario when you get key breakouts, and then you are able to ask that question, is this the start of something bigger? So we'll see what happens moving forward.